you beautiful souls, and welcome or welcome back to my channel. I am going to talk you through my everyday makeup routine. Step by step, beginner friendly, black girl approved, and the perfect everyday makeup look from when you just want to look, you know, put together but not doing too much for it. Don't worry, it's nothing too complicated, just some simple products and techniques that you can use for your everyday makeup, especially if you are a beginner and if this is your first time dabbling into makeup, or maybe you're just looking to get better at it. So if you're a beginner, this is for you, and that's okay because we all gotta start somewhere. So grab a drink, grab your makeup, and let's get into this routine. When it comes to eyebrows, you want to find a good eyebrow gel to lay your hairs down so that they're not moving throughout the day. My tried and true go-tos are the e.l.f. Soap Brow and the e.l.f. Brow Lamination Gel. I'm going to show you how I use both. First, you want to make sure that our brows are dry and clean of any skincare product, because I did put on some moisturizer before this. Going in with that lamination gel, you want to just roughly push that all throughout your brow. Use the other comb side and use the one that kind of looks like a raking comb, and you want to brush that all throughout your brows, just lightly so. Taking your e.l.f. Soap Brow, I like to spray it with setting spray in order to activate it. Just a little spritz, nothing too much. Taking one of these eyebrow brushes, you're gonna just slightly scrape through the product, just so you have it coated like so, and you want to push that through each brow, combing upwards. Using that comb from the lamination gel, you're gonna scrape up your brow so that they're sticking up almost like a facelift. Cause y'all, look at that, the brows, they're not going nowhere, and that's what we want. Using the other side with the brush almost, this is where you want to shape your eyebrows. Now, everyone likes their eyebrows shaped differently, so this is where you're just gonna have to figure out, tried and true, what you like to do. And I just like to use another spoolie to just really make sure my brows are stuck down and that every hair is in place. Now, if you ever heard of carving your brows, this is where we're gonna get into that. So you're gonna take a brightening concealer. I'm using the Lancome 20 Dull All Over Concealer in shade, I believe this is 13.1, and I'm just gonna put a good amount under my eyebrow. Not the whole thing, just the front, because I'm not using too much product. You really don't need that much in order to carve under your brows. Using a flat brush, we are going to use this to carve under the eyebrows, following the natural shape. This is when we get to draw on our eyebrows, because if you're anything like me, eyebrow hairs are very scarce. So I go in with the NYX Lift and Snatch eyebrow pen. I use shade Espresso. It has a fine tip so you can get those eyebrow-like hairs. And I just add this wherever I may think that I just need a little bit more hair look likes. Now, I'm very particular with my eyebrows, so the next product that I use is the NYX Cosmetics Thick It and Stick It eyebrow gel. But what I do with this mascara is I just rake it through the front. I don't go throughout the whole eyebrow, I just rake it through the front, because I don't know, it just makes my eyebrows look just a little bit more defined and more natural. Now, this is what I call like the rough draft of our eyebrows, and we are going to carve out the top with a foundation. My go-to, and I only use this foundation for my eyebrows, is the Lancome 20 Dull Ultra Wear, but the Care and Glow version in shade 515W. I just use a little bit of a pump, like half a pump, a quarter of a pump even, and I place that over each eyebrow, and I just carefully carve them out. And the one thing about eyebrows is they're gonna look like sisters but not twins, and that's okay. As long as they look a bit similar, I feel like that's just fine. Like, eyebrows are already particular to begin with, so if you can get them to look somewhat the same, I feel like you're just fine. And if someone calls out your eyebrows saying that they don't look the same, then that means they're just too close to your face, because they shouldn't even be able to tell. Now that the eyebrows are done, we can then head to the rest of the face. When it comes to primers, they're like skincare. Your primer should match whatever skin type or whatever type of skincare that you like to do. So I am oily. As you can see, my T-zones are very shiny. I'm an oily person. So when it comes to my primers, I need to make sure that they can control the oil production that's happening underneath this makeup so my makeup doesn't get greasy and slip right off my face throughout the day. A beginner's tip is that honestly, your primer should be invested in. Everything else, you can probably find a good dupe to an expensive foundation, but primers, a good primer is something that you want to make sure that you're spending your money on. So my go-tos are the Danessa Myricks Blurring Balm Powder in shade Universal and her Water Powder Serum, and I use both of these together. These are my only primers that I use. If I really want to control something, I will use the One Size Oil Sucker to put on my T-zones if I really need to control my oil absorption that day. For the primer, you can either use your fingers or you can use a brush. I like to use a brush because I don't like to use my hands too much. So I'm using the Morphe foundation brush in M109 from their Butter Yellow collection that just came out recently. Picking up a good amount of product and gliding that on my face. Usually people will add this anywhere that they are oily, but for me, I just have to add it to my entire face. Going in next with my Water Powder Serum, I place that on both my cheeks and my forehead and just distribute that all around my T-zone. Usually at this point, people will go straight into their foundation. But me personally, I like to underpaint. What is underpainting? Pretty much, you're just doing like your blush, your bronzer underneath your foundation and putting your foundation on top. But I go in a different type of way with underpainting. I only underpaint using a bronzer. I like to go in with the Juvia's Place Liquid Bronzer in shade Rich Cocoa. With bronzer, there's a difference between contour. You may be thinking, aren't you supposed to contour first? Contour is cool toned while bronzer is warm toned. Really, it's your own preference. I personally don't like to contour because I don't like my face to be that snatched. I want to have more of a softer effect, so I bronze. If you are looking for more of a snatch, you want something to sculpt your face, then you would go in with a contour. It's important to know the difference because depending on what you want your face to look like, that is what you need to go for. I place my bronzers where the natural shadows happen on my face, so that is on these high points of my forehead. I put them right above the hollows of my cheek, my jawline, and on the bridges of my nose. When it comes to bronzers and contours, how you place it and where you place it is all up to you and your face shape and what you are looking to achieve with your look. Using this Real Techniques brush in number 084, I just lightly tap this in to the areas that I placed it. Another reason why I like to underpaint is because it helps me if I put too much. I can always just put my foundation over it and help to smooth out the lines and lessen where I put the bronzer. Surely at this point, you're probably comparing me to other people and being like, well, that's not what so-and-so does. That's not what this makeup beauty person does. Makeup is really subjective. I'm being so honest. It's up to your face, what you're looking for. You can always follow a tutorial, but at the end of the day, you need to learn your face shape. You need to learn what you like. You need to learn what you want to accentuate when you do your makeup. Some people like to accentuate their nose. Some people like to accentuate their forehead. It's really all up to you. And I like to drag my bronzer down and all the way into like the hollows of my eyes. And trust me, this looks crazy right now, but when we put all the foundations together, it'll make sense. Now for foundations for my everyday look, I have two options. One is the Amicale Skin Stick, which is discontinued, RIP to a good one, or the Danessa Myricks Blurring Balm Powder, but in shade 9. A problem you probably have when it comes to foundation is that you're putting on too much, which is why your makeup seems cakey or why it's not setting correctly. Start small and then add on. Remember, makeup can be buildable. You don't always have to start with 3 or 5 pumps of foundation on your face. With this underpainting method, we're going to add the foundation into the dead spaces where we didn't put any of our bronzers. And going in with this Real Techniques brush in number 259, I am going to buff, hear the word, buff out this foundation in those dead spaces. I know some people still like to use a beauty sponge when it comes to buffing out their foundation. I personally like to invest in a good brush because it picks up less product and is easier to control where you want everything to go. And this is probably a good point to say it, but if you are a beginner, you need to invest in some good brushes to start off. You don't have to spend $100 per brush. Real Techniques and the new Morphe brushes that just dropped recently within this past year, I would say, these two brands have really great, affordable, beginner-friendly brushes. Get you some, because a brush technique will also make or break your makeup. It's not just about the products, but it's also about what you use to put on the products for your face. And see how I'm going back in with that bronzer brush just to add back in some of that warmth? Now here's everyone's favorite part, concealer and blush. For an everyday look, I usually do my blush first, but I know some people are very adamant on, no, concealer goes first and then you do blush, or no, blush goes first and then you do concealer. Do what you like to do. Do what you like to do. Both are okay. It's not really gonna make that much of a difference. It's just based off of preference. For an everyday look, I love going in with the Haus Labs Glassy Blush Balm. Oh my gosh. For an everyday look, I love going in with the Haus Labs Glassy Blush Balm. That is a tongue twister. This is in shade Glassy Clove. And for me, I place my blushes at a high point because I like a more elevated look when it comes to my blush placement. And then I go in with Glassy Watermelon for a little mixture. One thing about me is I love mixing blush. I love mixing colors. Don't be afraid to mix colors with your blush to get that nice gradient that you're looking for. Using this random makeup brush that I've had for years, don't even know where I got it from, we are going to tap that in and see how I'm only putting it in the high points of my cheek right here. I'm not dragging it over here. I'm keeping it where I want it. Same on the other side, keeping it where I want it. And like I said, if I want to add more, I'll add more. Who's gonna stop me? No one. Because truly, when you are beginning with your makeup, it is very much a tough learn. You have to go through that ugly phase. And I know some people don't want to, and they're afraid of being ridiculed or being seen as looking ugly because you're just starting out and you don't know what you're doing. The ugly duckling phase of makeup is the best part, because that is what you're going to use in the future when you look back at your makeup and you see how far you've actually grown in skill and talent and creativity. That is your proof of where you started and is the proof of how far you've come. So don't be afraid of the ugly duckling stage. For concealers, I'm going in with the Kulfi Color Match Concealer in shade Faluda Fizz. I recently tried this out and I've been in love with this product. So concealer placement. This is another thing that is very apparent to your face shape and what you like to do. I put a little on the bridge of my nose. I make almost like a Simba son from Lion King across my forehead. A little stripe on my chin. Some dots above my lip. When it comes to under my eye placement, if you didn't know, this part of your eye is the thinnest layer of skin in your entire body. So that means it's delicate and you don't want to add too much product on, because that is how you get cakey and crusty under eyes. So I put a good amount, but not too much. I'm gonna bring you closer so you can see. Notice how I did not drag this up. Notice how there's still a good amount of space between my actual eye and the concealer placement. Because remember, we're going to blend this out, so you don't want to put the product too close to under your eye because it's already going to go there anyways. This may just be another controversy that I have for you. Do you blend out your concealer with a beauty sponge or brushes? Personally, I use a beauty sponge whenever I'm doing my everyday makeup, but if I'm looking for more coverage, I do use brushes. And my favorite three are the Morphe Concealer Brush, which is M133, the Real Techniques Setting Brush in 402, and the Morphe Angled Concealer Brush in M132. So going in with your beauty sponge, we're just gonna lightly tap out that concealer, because another pro tip, let your concealer dry down just for a little bit for some more coverage. And see how I'm lightly tapping? I'm not jabbing the beauty blender into my face, just lightly tap it. For the under eyes, diffuse the outside first, and then you go in, controlling the beauty blender to where you place that concealer. If you want a more uplifted, snatched look, you can take your beauty blender and angle it upwards, like so. I honestly never know how makeup girlies don't show like their ugly face that they do when they blend out their concealer, because me personally, I'm gonna elongate my face just so I can get in those crevices. Now personally, I love a bright under eye. So I go in with the Morphe Filter Effect in shade medium 14 warm. This has been discontinued. I'm so sorry girlies, but I love this concealer down, and all I do is I put a good amount, like so, only under the corner, inner corner of my eye. And while that dries down, I go in with my bronzer brush just to buff out any harsh lines, and using my foundation brush also to blend everything together. See, we don't want any harsh lines on our faces. Using the cleaner side of the beauty sponge, I'm going to blend this out, only concentrating it in my inner corner. And remember, light taps. And that is our cream base all done. Another reason why your makeup is not actually having the longevity that the products say they do is because you're not helping it. You're not putting on any setting mist in between your steps. I just put all my creams on. So I'm about to go in with the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist to set everything all together so that everything blends in very smoothly and we don't have any harsh lines before we use powders to set everything again. And you see how drenched my face is? That's how it should be. That's how it should be. Another little beginner tip, get yourself a little mini fan so that you can dry your face even faster. Our next step is powders. This is where everything starts to just come together. When it comes to setting powders for your under eye, you want to make sure that you get powders that are the tone of what the concealer you used. Did that make sense? Get powders that match the tone of the concealers. So before you go in with any powders, make sure that you re-blend out all those creases on your under eye. Powder puff or beauty sponge, either one works just fine for you to use for powders. Just make sure you're setting your face. That's all I ask. Going in with the Ulta Beauty Powder Puff, we're gonna use shade Sweet Honey from one size, tapping it in and tapping out that excess. Yeah, we don't want cakey under eyes. Making sure we tap out those creases again. I'm only setting the parts where I place that Morphe concealer. For our T-zone areas, I'm gonna go in with the Fenty Beauty setting powder in shade Hazelnut, rubbing out that excess and applying it where I applied that Kulfi concealer. Up next is bronzer. The same way that we brought that warmth in the beginning, we're gonna bring it back with our powders. Remember, everything cream gets set by a powder, so you don't want to skip any steps when it comes to the powders. I'm using the Juvia's Place Bronze Duo in Deep Dark. We're gonna tap into both shades because I like to mix them. I just feel like it gives a great gradient. And we're gonna dust along where we put all that cream bronzer. And if you're like me, I love me a cute little, you know, nose contour. So I use the same bronzers and I just go in on the bridges of my nose and under. Now, when it comes to setting all over the face, I love to go in with the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish. This is in shade 4 Deep. Taking a fluffy brush, I just tap that in, dust it off, and then swirling motions, put that all over where I didn't put concealer. And dust it across my forehead to blend in my bronzer with my setting powders. Now you probably noticed that we've lost our blush just a little bit, but that's okay because we're gonna go in with the Juvia's Place Duo Blush in the volume 3. Tapping into the top dark red shade, we're gonna use the Morphe brush in M203. Tap that away and lightly dust it across where you put your cream blush. Oh yeah, look at that, beautiful. Now I know there is such a thing as blush blindness, but me personally, I don't have that. I love me some blush. I love putting it also under my nose for a little, like, you know, cutesy nose effect. And just like that, our blush is back to life. Same way that we set our creams, we're gonna set our powders. All drenched. When it comes to your eye look for an everyday look, I like to keep it pretty simple. That same bronzer that we used, we are going to use that as almost like a base for our eyeshadow. And you're just gonna sweep that across your eye. Already, it's creating such a nice depth in your eye without having to do too much. Take your favorite eyeshadow palette. I'm going in with the Morphe Gilded Desert 35U. Get you a flat eyeshadow brush and dip into any glitter and just roughly put that across your eyelid. And if you want, take a lighter shade and add that as an inner corner highlight. Some people are still stuck in that 2016 highlight era, and that is I. So I use the Fenty Beauty Demi Glow That's Rich. As you can see, she's very much loved. I tap into that with a fluffy eyeshadow brush and just lightly glide that across the points that I want to accentuate. So the bridge of my nose, my brow bone, that high cheek point across my blush. Eyeliner is optional, but I love a good eyeliner, so we're gonna put that on. A tutorial can come from that, but just let me know in the comments if you want it. Your final touch can also include your lip combo. Today, we're gonna be using the Sephora lip liner in shade Molasses. This is a fave. If you are a black girl and you are looking for a great brown lip liner, this has to be your go-to. And it pairs so well with the Sephora Plump Effect lip gloss. This is in shade 02 Nude, and I just glide that right across. Now usually the girlies go with mascara and then they do setting spray. If you're clumsy like me, here's a beginner tip. Do your setting spray and then do your mascara. Because if you don't, you're gonna get that all under your eye and now you messed everything up and I can't help you at that point. And with setting spray, this will also make or break your face. You need to get a setting spray that you know will work with the makeup that you're looking for. Go with what you want, not with what's trendy. That's where you're gonna lose all your money, by just buying the trendy products, even though they don't work with what you're trying to do. My go-to for a lasting makeup look is the L'Oreal 3-second setting mist, 36 hours, and I have tried it and it is 36 hours. And angle and then spray. Whoo! Yep. Using the Amicole mascara, and I think that's it. Now you have a everyday makeup routine that is beginner friendly, easy, and black girl approved. Like, let's get into the material, y'all. Look at this flawless look. I remember when I was starting off doing my makeup, I would binge, I'm talking binge, YouTube beginner videos. I would binge all these creators. But low-key, the beginner videos weren't really giving beginner, so I hope this gave as beginner as it can in order for you to understand the step-by-steps for an everyday makeup look. Because makeup is supposed to feel fun and affirming. It shouldn't feel stressful. It shouldn't feel like you're putting on a mask. It should accentuate the beauty that you already have on your face. So if this routine felt helpful or made you feel more confident and comfortable with makeup, make sure to like and subscribe, because I'm for sure going to be sharing more beginner-friendly tips and advice when it comes to makeup. And I'll be sure that they are black girl approved, because why wouldn't they be? Our makeup needs to be for us. So I'm gonna make sure that that translates on this channel as well. If you're a beginner, let me know what part of the makeup process feels intimidating. What is the reason why maybe you're starting now or haven't started before? And would you want more beginner-friendly makeup videos? Let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to answer your questions if you have any. But until next time, you lovely people and beautiful souls. Bye-bye, y'all.